Meeting, you stated that you were for de-escalating the Ukraine war.
Since that time, we've escalated, sending over $100 billion in weapons and aid, and all that's resulted in is we've extended the conflict, resulting in more dead Ukrainians and Russians, and we've moved ourselves closer to a nuclear conflict. Now, recently, as chair of the Progressive Caucus, you issued a statement expressing commitment to what I think is a reckless policy. At the same time, you concluded the statement by saying you remain open to constructive de-escalation and diplomacy. That is something we need to pursue aggressively. It's going to require creative politics. Two elements that could contribute to that. One is the overtures of Pope Francis, who said he would mediate negotiations. Secondly, the vote on House Concurrent Resolution 21, where you and your progressive colleagues joined forces with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nolan Goldberg, and people we're supposed to hate to fight for. So how do we de-escalate?
Yeah, thank you so much. Nice to see you all, and thank you for being here. I didn't even know my friend Medea was going to come to Seattle to see me. How great. So this is a really challenging situation, and we have been working, not always publicly, for a number of reasons, to push the administration to have this set of goals, talks, private conversations around diplomacy, because we all know that every war ends with diplomacy. And we also know that the time when military conflict is greatest is actually the time when you need to be talking about peace the most. And so, but it is challenging, and I'll tell you that for a number of reasons, we need to make sure that we are continuing to support Ukraine. But for me, the question has always been one of offensive versus defensive support. And I think, I was just talking to my friend Barbara Lee about this, because we've been trying to figure out what is the way, and it may not all be public, but what is the way that we can make sure that we are, and I believe the Biden administration is trying to do this, but I will tell you that I think there needs to be public support for this as well. And there's gotta be, Ukraine has to also be a part of this conversation. Nothing's gonna happen without Ukraine. And so those conversations are ongoing. It has been concerning to me that the kinds of support are becoming more offensive in nature. I don't think they've crossed the line yet, but we've been trying to figure out what is that line where we need to make sure that once it crosses a line that there is authorization from Congress for this. In the meantime, I also think that supporting the Ukrainian people and making sure that we are doing everything we can to make sure that humanitarian aid gets in, to protect the children in Ukraine, all of the work that I know we are all very committed to. And by the way, you might have seen, I've been pushing for this, but the Biden administration just extended the 1 year of parole to those who came across the border as well, just like we did Ukrainians who came across the border, just like we did for the Uniting Ukraine Act. But we haven't done it for Afghanistan yet, so we still need to do it for Afghanistan as well. But these are all part and parcel of how we support Ukraine. It isn't just with the military aid. And so we're still working through this. I wish I had a really good answer for you, but we're still working through this, and we want to continue to be in dialogue with the administration, and we want to continue to address this within our own caucus, because within the Democratic caucus as well, we are not the Republicans on this issue. We are very, very different from the Republicans on this issue, but certainly there are some who are with us on, for example, reducing the military budget in general, which you know is a big priority for me. So let us continue to work with you and figure out what the way through is. I don't have a great answer. I think it's really challenging, and I think Barbara Lee leads the Peace and Security Task Force for the Progressive Caucus, so we are doing this together, figuring out what we need to do, what conversations we need to have, and how we ensure that we both support Ukraine and do not engage in another very, very dangerous war that puts us there for a very long time and takes the lives of even millions more than the devastation we've already seen. So let's keep talking and let's keep figuring out where we go from here. But thank you for the work you're doing for peace around the world.
Do you support peace talks?
Well, I always support peace talks, but I think the question is how to make them happen, Medea. And that, I think, is the real challenge, and I'm happy to sit down and talk more with you on it. But I think, you know, of course, I think that's an easier question to answer than how to have that happen in a way that could be successful and lead to a successful conclusion for the Ukrainian people.
Thank you.
Hi, Congressman Jayapal.